In the soot-drenched borough of OSTER'S, where the fog clung to chimneys like ghost moss and the zeppelins wheeled above like vultures made of iron and silk, there stood an old clockwork bell tower that no longer rang. It loomed above the district like a monument to some forgotten age, its brass spine corroded, its cogs rusted and clogged with black soot and bird bones. Children were forbidden from playing near it, not because it was dangerous, but because of what had happened the last time that bell had chimed. That Easter Sunday, 20 years past, had begun with sunlight and ended in ash. The fog came thicker than ever that evening, curling through the alleys like breath from a corpse. When the bell struck midnight, though no one had wound the tower since the collapse, they appeared. Not demons, not angels, just machines. Carved in the rough shape of man, but filled with something else, something that watched from behind crystal eyes. They walked only a few blocks, left scorch marks and melted shoes in their wake, then vanished. In their place, 21 townsfolk fused together in a lattice of flesh and copper, humming softly beneath the collapsed altar of St. Auster's church. After that, the tower was sealed, clergy abandoned. The town carried on as it always had, pistons pounding, gears screaming and engines spitting. Progress demanded sacrifice, and Easter, it seemed, demanded mystery. But not for Elias Gant. Elias was a gearwright's apprentice, orphaned by the collapse, yet raised on soot and spite. He lived in the shadows of the old rail pipes and broken sky bridges, nursing a quiet obsession, the bell. Not for faith, not for vengeance, but because it had rung, and no one had ever explained quite how. On the eve of Easter, Elias creeped into the underguts of the tower. He carried a lantern filled with the radium sputter gas and a toolkit lined with his master's abandoned inventions. Bone-handled spanners, bronze-forked electromagnets, and a screwdriver that sang when held too tightly. The door to the tower was sealed with an iron plate bolted in 6 places, yet now it opened with no resistance. Within, the air was stale but warm. The gears on the walls shivered gently as if breathing in their sleep. Brass pipes lined the stairwell, curving like vertebrae into the heights above. As he climbed, his light caught glimpses of markings, scratches on the walls. Symbols, spirals, not carved by hand or chisel, but by repeated motion, repeated worship. Elias's breath clouded the air in shades of green. He passed the 2nd floor, where the monks had once lived. Their dormitories were still intact, still made absurdly with lace drapery and fine rosewood desks. But the windows were gone, and the wallpaper peeled like scorched skin. In the corner of one room sat a porcelain rabbit, its face painted with a smile too wide, one ear snapped off. The room smelled like sweet oil and rot. Elias ascended. At the belfry, Elias expected dust. He expected silence, but instead, he found movement. The gears still turned, and not fast but steadily, as if responding to some invisible weight or command. The bell, massive and greened with age, hung above it all like an eye half closed, and beneath it, a dais. And yet beneath that, something buried. He stepped forward, drawn by the sound. Not a ring or a toll, but a pulse. Like a heart encased in bronze. The floor beneath him trembled. The bell moved, once, just once, not with force, but with intention. Elias fell. The floor split inward, a mouth of clockwork teeth and velvet steam. He dropped into darkness, landed on something that breathed. No, not breathed. Hissed. Like steam escaping. Like a voice run through fluted metal. He stood slowly. His lantern had shattered, but the chamber glowed dimly from seams in the floor, and in the walls, and in the ceiling. It was not a room, it was a lung. Pistons flexed in the corners, slow and rhythmic. Valves pulsed open and shut. Above him, the bell's base rotated like a slow eye, and in the centre, rising from a pit of coiled cabling and wax-sealed tendons, stood a figure. Human, at least at first glance, but too tall, too narrow. His fingers were too many. Its robe was made not of cloth, but braided wires and tubes. Its face, a mask of gold leaf over porcelain, smiled eternally. And behind its back, it held a chain. Elias backed away. The chain unravelled. At its end was not a hook, not a blade, but a bell clapper. The priest machine, if that's what it was, raised the clapper to the underside of the bell, and Elias screamed. The sound it made was not sound. It was a reversal, as if silence itself had been struck. The air inverted, the colour drained from the walls. Elias felt his skin tighten, his eyes expand, and then he saw time. The Easter of the first ringing, the ones who came, the sacrifice. The machinery beneath the altar, ancient, non-human, and divined by accident. He saw engineers in robes, rabbits painted with ash. Eggs, yes, but not for birth, for containment. And it was then he saw the god. Not a person, not a beast, but a mechanism so vast it folded dimensions to fit. Its name was not a word, but a pattern. Its body a loop of repeating functions. Its consciousness housed in bells and in signals, in ritualized sound. And Elias had triggered it again. He awoke lying on the dais. The tower was silent, but he was not alone. Around him stood others, dozens. Some wore robes, some wore soot-covered goggles, some were even children. Yet all of them were Elias. Versions, refractions, possible selves fractured across the gears of causality. The bell had split him, multiplied him, spread him like code across the timeline. The priest machine stood among them, nodding slowly. Elias tried to scream. Instead, he heard a chime. Inside his ribs. The bell was within him now. A tiny mechanism, a divine seed. By morning, the fog had returned. The zeppelin stalled overhead, and the water ran cold. And in the square outside the bell tower, the people of OSTER'S had gathered, not with faith, but with knowing. One by one, they knelt. As Elias stepped from the tower, now clad in porcelain and wire, a new bell formed in the clouds above, its tone hollow, radiant, alive. The others followed, not citizens, not worshippers, just Eliases. Each a variation, each a chime, each a signal to the god machine that Easter had indeed come again, and the world was once more ready to be rewound.